I use this quote a lot because I think it's so true. If we teach our children today as we taught them yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. Are we teaching our children the way we were taught because it's what we're used to and we think that's tried and true? Or are we looking for, and this is what we started to do, ways that really look at the world as it is today? Because if our job is to prepare our students to live and work in the world of today, and yet we're using techniques of yesterday, are we really preparing them? Are we really fulfilling our mission as educators? And I always love to look at this picture as a class. You know, how are you, as a principal, how are you doing your job that models the world that students live in today? And I think that's what George has been talking about for the past 2 days. What are we doing that visibly monitors the way our students are going to go out and actually work in the world today? How are we doing that? I use this picture because my friend won't let me take her picture. She works from her kitchen table. She works for a multinational company. She sometimes leaves the house. She makes 3 times as much money as I am. But what is she doing all the time? She is building teams. She is collaborating with people all around the world. She is dealing with problems that haven't come around before and need to be solved. She is dealing with innovation all the time. And she is doing all that, and she can do all that from her kitchen table because that is the way a lot of jobs are going. Not all. And she's not isolated. As much as it may seem she's isolated, she's dealing with more people probably than I am on a daily basis. And what is it our students are going to go into? You know the stats, at least, by the time they're 40, how many jobs can they expect to have? How many careers? 13 or 14? What are the skills our students need to deal with this constantly shifting, constantly changing world? Before we used to teach them a set of knowledge. This is the knowledge you need, go and do this one career. Now that they don't have that one career, what are the skills that they need? They need more skills than they actually need a set of knowledge sometimes.
But there's so many variances to literacy, like creating media, filtering through information and understanding, you know, what is good information, what is bad information. And like a great place to start to look at some of these things is the National Council of Teachers of English talk about 21st century literacies. And I know a lot of people don't like that term 21st century and they'll share it, but that's just what it's called. And I think it's that we have to start thinking about going beyond simply what we consider literacy of reading and writing and go further. And it's not to say, and a lot of people get mixed up with this, that we're not saying reading and writing is important. In fact, it's the exact opposite. You need to be able to read and write to do so many of these things. But I saw Yang Zhao speak, and what he said really resonated with me, is that reading and writing should be the floor, not the ceiling. And so we're actually aspiring much, much higher than simply kids can read and write, but they're creating stuff and they're fluent with the language. And you know, a lot of schools do drop everything and read time where kids are simply reading information, but fluency comes when you can actually use that language and create something from it. And so we have to kind of look at how we're doing this. And the only way that we're going to be able to develop literacy with our students in a really, truly holistic way, where we're looking at all of these things, is to actually start to try some of these things ourselves. And like, you know, create a video, do an Instagram photo or video through that place, or even start using Twitter or Google Hangouts or whatever. Because the more that we know, the more that we can teach. And that's the struggle that many of us are having, is that we're trying to teach kids things that we've never learned. And so that would be impossible in any other context. So it's so easy to dismiss those things and say they're not important. But if you actually jumped into them and actually tried one thing here, one thing there, you would see the power of that, and you're more likely to transfer that knowledge to your students.
Another thing, I know this is kind of in the classroom, but you know, as a student, there's some learning styles that a teacher uses that may not work for you. And I love the internet, how I can go on to YouTube and see many other teachers around the world that have sort of flipped their classroom online. And so I can review what my teacher went on, you know, said in this class that I didn't get it all, and this other teacher, I really like the way they taught that, so I can take that and, you know, after class I'll look through it and then I'll get it. That's something that I couldn't do before the internet, and it's really powerful.
We know that we want our students to be able to work collaboratively. We want them to be problem solvers, to be innovative, to be creative, to think outside the box. These are the skills that are going to enable them to be successful in the real world. So as school leaders, we have to ensure that we as leaders and our teachers and students are engaged in 21st century learning practices in order to prepare our students for the real world.